if you've been doing the same job for like 2 years, you can just get away with murder, because like if you actually need to do something really quickly, like you can just fucking do
and
it.
you don't want to do it too fast at the beginning, because then people expect you to do it at that speed. So you're like, I'm finished, but like I'm gonna wait till tomorrow to be like, oh, I got this done, just so the next time they'll think this is an overnight task.
I mean, I got a lot on my plate right now. When do you need this by? Oh, end of day, Jesus. Is tomorrow okay? And like, I could do it in 5 minutes.
This time, I sit down with the content king himself, Jack Lawler. Jack is the CEO and creative mind behind Work.Retire.Die, a platform dedicated to helping others cope with corporate life by making memes out of its harsh realities and absurdities. When Elon Musk is pretending to work on fake companies like SpaceX and Tesla, what he's really doing is scrolling through Work.Retire.Die's Instagram feed and laughing at how accurate the memes are. By packing hundreds of words and widely held feelings into a simple image with text, memes have quite literally become a language of their own. If you want any chance of surviving in this new world, come for a walk with me on this episode as Jack breaks down the language of meme culture, why he quit his corporate job, the power of improv, advice for young creators, and more. You can follow Jack's post at @WorkRetireDie for corporate-related content, and at the Comma Club to enable your gambling addiction and educate yourself on the art of the pregame. And you can keep up with this podcast, of course, at Auxoro. For early releases and bonus episodes of the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Auxoro. That's patreon.com/Auxoro, where things get wild. Thank you for the support, and without further ado, please enjoy this deep dive with the content king, Jack Lawler of Work.Retire.Die. All right, dude, we sound fucking sick.
Good.
I'm gonna pull my therapist notes close.
There you go. Let's dive deep.
I'm a alcoholic therapist.
Yeah,
That's okay. It's noon.
You need to drink. You need to drink less.
Yeah, it is noon. It is noon. So. All right.
Let's do it.
I want to start with Richmond.
Yes.
So now that we have some separation between college and where we are now, we graduated back in 2015.
Yep.
How do you look back on your time at Richmond? Because for me, the further away we get, kind of the more weird college experience seems.
Yeah.
But for you, I'm curious how you look back on our 4 years as a spider.
Roll spides, baby. I really liked college. A lot of my closest friends today are from college. I was in a fraternity, which you played baseball, so you didn't really get to do that, or if you even wanted to do that. But I enjoyed my time. Looking back on it, I feel like I would have done things differently. Like, I kind of just fell into the path that a lot of Richmond kids fall into, I think. Like, you come from the Northeast, you join a fraternity, you don't really do much. I tried to do other things, like I played rugby. I had always wanted to do comedy and writing, and I did it in high school, and I didn't really do it in college. Mm-hmm. And I felt like it was hard to get back into it afterwards, but I like Richmond. My little brother goes there. I feel like it really churns out a specific type of kid, and like it's a little challenging if you do something that's not the exact thing that everyone else does.
I'm glad you brought up fraternities, because the more I think about college, the more I appreciate fraternities, especially with the cancel culture and like all this shit going on, and especially frat culture kind of got canned a little bit towards the end of college. Like, they definitely put a lid on the amount of craziness.
Probably rightfully so.
Dude, not a lot of not a lot of people talk about, especially at a school like Richmond, which is kind of the typical Southern Northeast transplant school, where fraternities are, and frat life in general is the backbone of the fun that happens at the school. It's very dominant. When we go downtown on a Thursday night or go to an apartment party on Saturday, and we had our own thing for baseball too. We would hold parties at the baseball house. Sometimes we would do joint shit as well. But I feel like fraternities get all the blame when something goes wrong, and then none of the credit for the fun that goes on in the school. No one's like, frats make school fun. Like, we have lodges. We buy a bunch of fucking beer. We
Everybody
get
drinks for
wasted,
free,
and
and
99.9% of the time, like shit works out, and you wake up with a hangover, and you're like, "Fuck,
Fair.
that was an amazing
Fair.
night."
I do feel like it was a great time. I feel like I was someone who benefited from it by being part of it, but like I could see how if like you weren't part of it, it was kind of like exclusive and you didn't like really enjoy it. But
at a school like Richmond, though, I feel like almost
everybody gets to kind of
we did have a high percentage athlete population.
Yep.
But I feel like almost everyone I met that wasn't an athlete was also in a fraternity or sorority, and
Totally.
the sports teams were kind of a fraternity on their own a little bit. And I never really, like, you could tell me if you think I'm wrong, I never really felt the classic athlete frat tension, at least not at Richmond.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because it wasn't as big of a school, but I never, like, when people talk about like the athletes versus the frat guys, maybe there's a little bit of that, but for the majority of the time, I felt like we went together pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think part of that was because it was such a small school. I could see how like at a bigger school, it would be more of an issue, but like usually at Richmond, there's like 2 parties a night. And it was like everyone just
like,
goes to
which
one
one
or the
are you
other.
like the football house,
and it was
or
like,
Sig Chi or SAE.
and it doesn't, or like
So you mentioned that you wanted to, or you might have done things differently if you went back a second time in terms of maybe writing or comedy.
Yep.
If you were to go back to school right now, what specifically do you think you may have done differently, whether it's different classes or maybe major or extracurriculars? Well, what are the type of things that you would have been involved in if you went back right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think like it's always hard to say like, I mean, it took me to where I am today, which I'm happy where I am today. So it's hard to be like, I would have changed things, but I feel like I was always had like interest in doing creative stuff and like I made videos in high school and writing, and like, I never really did that in college. So like I would have joined the improv team, which like isn't something you do when you're in a fraternity necessarily. Or I would have like made my own videos. Like you've seen people like Jimmy Tatro blow up when they're in college for like making their own videos. Like why didn't I do that? Like I would have been farther along than I am now. But I think at the end of the day, it's like there's only so many hours in the day. I think I played rugby and I was the president and the captain of that, and like I put a lot of my energy into that outside of drinking a lot of beers and taking classes.
Or at the same time.
You can do both at the same
time. You can multitask.
And I ended up playing rugby for 2 years after college too. So like, I'm very happy I did that. Yeah. In like a men's league. And then I actually got back surgery, so I can't really play anymore. But
shit, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should be. Yeah.
I mean, it's my fault. I was on the other team.
It's hard to not paralyze you.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was the guy.
Yeah. I can't believe I walked
This is the first time we've seen each other since I paralyzed you 2 years ago.
Kind of coming to terms with that.
Yeah, we're gonna wrestle with that on the podcast.
Yeah, this is gonna be a main sort of theme of the podcast.
But yeah, I definitely feel the desire to have started earlier.
Yeah,
I think about that a lot with podcasting, especially during the pandemic when I'm spending a lot of time by myself, just like in my apartment, thinking about life like you inevitably do. I'm like, fuck, if I started podcasting in 2013, I'd be Joe Rogan right now.
Yeah, I mean,
I would have signed a $100 million contract.
I have no doubt that that's the truth.
But I'm like, I could have, I don't really think about it in terms of money when I look back. I think about it in terms of like getting in the reps. I'm like, I would have been 4 years ahead of where I am now in terms of podcast 100%. Reps. Or for you, comedy, sketch reps, meme reps, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's like thousands of reps over 4 years. So sometimes I get in this mode when I kick myself. I'm just like, fuck. Like,
I know. The 10,000
Why didn't
hours.
you just like record a single podcast?
I know.
But then I remember that, you know, it's not my journey, you know? Like, everyone has their own journey.
It's interesting you brought up the reps thing, because like, I think as athletes, like I do think about it like that, where like I feel like that's helped me when I've been approaching comedy, where it's like, it's just like about reps. Like I performed live for a while. It's like, it's just getting stage time. Like, it's just like a sport. Like you have to flex your muscle, and like, it's not going to be good for a while, which you like have to come to terms with.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's I feel like it's a weird balance where you want to get in more reps to practice and get better at what you do for a long-term goal.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, when you're actually doing the rep, like right now in the middle of podcasting, I would be a shitty podcaster if I was thinking about where I wanted to be 10 years from now.
Right.
Which is the only reason why I'm sitting down with you right now, because you're going to launch me into the
100%.
into the stardom.
Yeah.
But it's like a fine line between seeing yourself where you are down the line in the future and desiring that future outcome, and then shutting off that part of your brain and being like, all right, my only job right now is to make this video good, to make this funny. And I feel like it's a constant thing when I'm making content, whatever it is, where I get better and better at turning off that part of my brain, but it's never gonna completely go away.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think like when it comes to like writing or stuff that I like, more artistic things, I forget who said it. Maybe it's like Ira Glass. That's a person, right?
It sounds like a person.
Yeah,
it's believable.
I think it's like
if you didn't ask me, I would have said like, I know who that
or
is.
like an NPR person. It sounds like
I read his book.
Yeah, it was so good. You recommended it to me.
I did. Yeah, that was before I broke your back. Exactly.
But it's something where it's like when you first start out writing, your taste is like up here higher and your skill is here. So like you're writing and you know it's not good because you have like good taste. You like want to be an artist. You're like good. You know it's good and it's not going to be good for a while. So like it can be very frustrating to get your work to where you think the taste level that you're comfortable with, like, you know what I mean? Like,
so when you start, I think I may have actually seen this quote before.
Yeah,
for real. I didn't know it was my boy Ira though.
Oh yeah,
lives right next to me.
Yeah.
So his point was that your talent or your taste is way above your talent at the beginning.
Yes.
And so there are people that are starting out that are not that good at what they're doing yet, but they have extremely good taste. And so it's a battle of like having good taste and seeing like all those things that you listen to or you watch and knowing like this is really good, and then going through your own shit and editing your own shit and being like, this is awful. Especially at the beginning.
You
and
know
then
it'll
eventually
get
gets
better.
closer. Yeah. So it's like you have to wrestle with that as at any stage as a creator.
And some people
that's
don't.
a good quote.
And then they just become movie critics.
So you performed live. You said you did some live stuff. What capacity was that?
So this was pre-pandemic for about a year. I had this sketch comedy team called Lemon Hands Comedy, and like we met through, I think.
I remember you posted some stuff on YouTube. Yeah.
It was 5 of us that like met through different comedy classes, and we just started putting on shows in the city. And it was great. Like I've always been really lucky that I've gotten a lot of support from my family and friends. So like when we would have a show, like we'd have 50 or 60 people come and like performing comedy sketches live, and people are laughing, and like it was great. Like it was kind of a fucking rush, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And then like that's all kind of taken away, but
what
it's a grind though to do performing live.
What sort of spots was it at? Like what was the venue like?
There's this place, a couple places. One of them is called the People's Improv Theater, and it's called the Pit. I don't know if you really know it, but like it's a smaller comedy theater where the people do like improv and sketch. And we met at classes at UCB, which is like Upright Citizens Brigade. Do you know what that is? So for the people who don't know, it's basically like a comedy school. So like it was started by Amy Poehler, a bunch of other people like Matt Walsh. And if you wouldn't know their names necessarily, but like if you see their faces, you know who they are.
Yeah.
So they started it, and it's like they teach you improv and how to like write sketch, and you take different classes, and they have house teams, and it's a theater. So like, a lot of comedians have come out of those kind of things. So we met in classes there. Yeah.
So do you feel like improv made you better at creating content, taking the live aspect of improv and then putting that into the videos you make? Do you think it had a good impact? Yeah,
I think it does. And like, I was never a huge improv guy. I was more sketch, like writing. I initially started out thinking myself as a writer, and then I think I'm naturally a performer. So it's kind of like worked out a little bit. But I would never really focus as much on improv. But I think improv helps, and like it helps you to like when you're writing and just doing things, like thinking about this could also be this, and it's like just kind of a way of thinking. There's a principle in improv called yes and. So it's like I'm sure if you're, I don't know if you're familiar.
That's like what I would tell people if I wanted them to believe I took an improv class.
Yeah, it's like the
you take improv this, yeah, like yes and, dude, like,
it's like, oh, that's
say
so
something
smart.
and I'll just go with it, bro. But no, I've never taken an improv class. I actually wrote it down as a to-do list thing before the pandemic, along with like 1,000 other things. But improv has always been in the back of my mind, where it's something that scares the shit out of me.
Totally.
I actually did Toastmasters instead. I was like,
nice.
I'm either going to do Toastmasters or improv. And once Toastmasters went to Zoom, I was like, this doesn't really give me the rush anymore of standing in front of people. Yeah. Maybe I'll try improv when things start opening up.
Toastmasters is like speeches.
Yeah. It is a rush. You either do a 5 to 7 minute prepared speech.
Okay.
Which for the first one, I prepare, but not really, because I was like, I go on streaks where I could talk for 5 minutes on a podcast. I'm just going to say whatever comes into my head.
And then you're
when 15 people are staring at you, expecting you to have this well thought out process, you just fucking shit the bed. But no, I genuinely felt like I got better in Toastmasters. And then what I really liked, kind of what kept me going back, was they did these 2-minute improv, and you had to volunteer before you would do the topics, before they would tell you the topic.
So I don't even know knowing what you're talking
so I don't know if it's considered improv, because it's not with another person.
Okay.
But it would just like, who wants to go next? You raise your hand. They don't tell you the topic yet. Someone's assigned in the group who's not going to put a bunch of topics in a hat, and it's just like you're ending your commencement speech at NYU 2021. Like, what are the last 2 minutes you're gonna leave off?
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
And they start the timer right away, so it's like you could either sit there and not say shit for 2 minutes, like, or gather, just like let vomit come out of your mouth. Like
that Michael Scott thing where he's like, I just start a sentence I like don't know where it's going.
Exactly. And I feel like, as someone who hasn't done improv, from what I hear about it, it's really good for going with your gut and silencing that voice in your head a little bit that tells you, like, this is the worst thing ever. What are you saying? Go sit down. Just like kill yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that voice is definitely loud in my head sometimes, but yes.
Yeah. So improv, you would say, had a pretty good effect in terms of opening you up for like making videos for Lemon Hands, you said.
Lemon Hands, yeah. And then I would say so. And I think like it's just a good experience to have, like being on the stage, and like even bombing is like still a good experience. Just like putting yourself out there.
What is bombing like in improv?
I've like never totally bombed, like, thank God, because I feel like a lot of times my audience has been like friends and family sometimes. So like, or half friends and family that like wouldn't really let you bomb, but like it is pretty fucking awkward, because especially it's worse to bomb in a show where you're like a sketch show where like you have lines and you forget your line, or someone else forgets their line, and you're all sitting there like sweating, and it's like it's really horrible.
Have you forgotten a line during
I have. And
so like, you improv, is it like understood that you improv, and then the person goes with it? Like it's just like an understood thing. Like
someone's not like, wait, that's not the line. Like, stop the sketch.
Stop everything.
Everyone, we're so sorry.
The spotlight shines down on you, and you're just like saying an apology in front of the crowd.
Well, that's the cool thing about like stuff like that, is like you're all kind of on the same team, and like you want everyone to do well. And like I do think in general, like audiences want you to do well. Like people want to laugh. So like that was one of the things when I was nervous at first. I was like, they want you to do well. So like maybe that's wrong, but I feel like when I'm watching something, I don't want to be like, this is horrible. Like I want to like see where it's going. So like that gives me a little bit of confidence knowing like.
So I think it would be cool to break down a sketch a little bit, because you put out a lot of sketches with yourself, and you're kind of playing different characters. I love the ones you do on Zoom calls. They're hilarious. There've been so many. I watched there's another one on your YouTube channel. I think it was part of Lemon Hands comedy where it's the last one to sign off Zoom. Yes. Or it's like, don't sign off Zoom. Don't be the last one on it. I thought that was fucking
Thank you.
hilarious. So when you write a sketch like that, where let's do it with other people first, and then we'll go to you. What does it look like when you're putting it together? Is everything written out exactly? Like when I'm doing TikToks and stuff, and sometimes I'll like have an idea and I'll just say it to the camera, or I'll write everything out word for word first, and I'll kind of have it in my head and I'll say it kind of try to say it naturally to the camera. What's your approach when you're doing sketches like that with other people?
When I'm doing sketches with other people, like I feel like we generally have it pretty well written out, especially when it's on stage, because like you can't really like reshoot it. Like you kind of don't want something to go wrong. So like it's a lot of like drafts and thinking out what's funny. When I'm filming something on TikTok, like you said, like just with myself or with other people, like sometimes you just like take it in one direction and like you're like, wow, that was actually fucking funny. Like I never thought to write that. But I think like, generally like the way sketch process will work is like, you'll like pitch an idea. It's like, this is a funny idea. And then you're like, all right. And then you try to like hit like 2 or 3 beats of it. And then like escalate it a little bit. So it's like, don't stay on the Zoom. So it's like one person leaves because it's a little awkward. And then like one person makes up an even more ridiculous lie to leave. And then like 2 people are stuck there and it's like so awkward. And like, some person makes up an even more ridiculous lie. It's like, I just like fucking hate you. Like, it's just like all comes out. Like,
I love the dude when he was like, I'm going through a tunnel, and like, you could kind of hear it, but it was subtle. You're on camera, and then it just like cut to the next part really quickly. And it's like, cool. I feel like that sort of stuff, that kind of like, even in stand up, sometimes I hear almost like these lines where they'll say something super loud for the laugh, and then it's kind of like this tail off line where they don't say it as powerfully, but if you're listening, it's fucking like sometimes more funny,
right? And like those are like usually improv stuff where it's like just like your natural reaction stuff.
You're on camera and this is like I see you, I literally see you. And it's like it just cuts really quickly.
I literally like, well, one thing that I've always found helpful was like when we would do live sketches, we would prepare and like practice a lot, and like I always felt I wanted to be 100%, like I wanted to know the lines like backwards and forwards, and like I feel like it was kind of like sports where like you want to be so prepared that when the game happens your instincts take over. So it's like I know all the beats, I know what's supposed to happen, I know what I'm supposed to say, but like if something goes wrong I can like adjust to it, or like I can improv a line here because like it's what I'm feeling in the moment, but like I'm so locked down in like what I have to say that I don't have to think about the words, and I'm just acting like normally, like how I'm just reacting instead of like trying to remember the lines. Does that make sense?
So you're like, even if you do have the lines memorized, it almost feels like a reaction because you can get in the emotion better because you're not trying to remember. I feel like that almost happens during baseball where you practice muscle movement so much to the point where you don't even think about it. You know you have to stride in a certain direction, or maybe you have to adjust the angle of your foot when you're hitting, or bring your elbow higher up, whatever the fuck it is. And you do it so many times in practice, and the goal is to make practice harder than the actual game. That was always like 100%. The saying in baseball or sports I always heard. You're doing it wrong if the game feels like a hard thing for you. Your practice should be grueling, and you should use that time to like pound the reps and get it down. And then the game should be like a more playful, instinctual vibe, using
I feel like reps. That's a big thing in like combat sport. Like my friend was a wrestler, and it was always like you want to get as much mat time as possible, and so when you actually wrestle, like you're not thinking about like grabbing their leg, you're just grabbing their leg, because that's what you're doing.
I just have you ever listened to Lex Fridman podcast?
I don't know if I have.
So he's been on Joe Rogan a few times, which is where I saw him, and he studies artificial intelligence at MIT. Podcast, also black belt in jiu-jitsu, and so he talks to a lot of fighters on his podcast. And he just had George St. Pierre on his podcast a couple weeks ago, and he was saying something similar, George St. Pierre, where he was talking about playing or like making your practice harder than the competition, but also having a playful vibe so that you can do it longer. If you feel like you are practicing and beating yourself into the ground, you might not have the fortitude, or you might not have the kind of the energy to get through a 3-4 hour grinding session.
Totally.
But if there's more of a playful vibe, you can, like, it feels more like you're just like playing around, but you're actually working. There's like this back and forth where you're trying out shit, you're experimenting in practice because the stakes are lower.
Yep.
And then like you're going back and drilling the actual
you're getting the reps. Yeah.
So for something like TikTok, where you're just by yourself, how does that change versus a sketch with multiple people? Like, how do you try to do that?
Yeah, I feel like the TikTok where I'm by myself, I like have an idea. I'll like write out like, because I normally will do like 2 characters, or I'll do like POV, like you're talking to a guy at a bar and I'm just like have like 6 or 7 jokes for that category. But I feel like I'll write out a couple that I want to do, and then I'll just like start filming and like being like, oh, that's not actually that funny. Or like,
how do you tell if it's funny though without the reaction? That's the toughest part for me. That's a tough
part. Yeah. So I just like, I send it to, there's like certain people I send it to. My girlfriend is like, she's a really good person who I send all my stuff to, because like she's really funny, she's really smart. But she's not a comedian.
You still have the same girlfriend from the karaoke
night, yeah.
Side note, I know she's really honest, because I was actually kind of like seeing this other girl at the time. I don't know if you remember this.
And you were like showing her the text.
I showed her the text.
She's
I was texting her. I was texting this girl paragraphs, and she was sending me back these like maybe 1-2 line responses if I was lucky. And she's just like, give me your phone. I'll tell you if she's interested. And she glances at it for maybe half a second, like gives it back to me. She's like, she's not interested. I'm like, how do you know? She's like, look at your text. And like, so there's like so much fucking blue. No shot.
That's
and I'm just
so
like,
true.
You're kind of right.
Yeah.
And it didn't work
it's
out.
like, you know, it does like, and she was right. Yeah. But she like is very honest, but she also like, it has a good sense.
This is my literally like the second conversation I had with her
like,
after saying, hey, what's up? How are you? And it's like, give me your phone. She's not interested.
Let's talk about it. Yeah. No, but that is super valuable, because like having someone else who I can bounce ideas off of, who's like not afraid to be honest with me, but also like, you know, is a funny person. So like there's certain people you social through, they're like, I don't really get it. And you're like, yeah, you don't get it because you're not funny. Like you don't understand it. Mm-hmm. But yeah. But outside of that, like I just kind of like now have a sense of what's funny or not. But it can be on my own, but it can be like a little like feel like you're screaming to the void half the time. Sometimes it just depends on like where your mood is. Like just like waves of creativity for me, where it's like sometimes I'm feeling it, I'm like hot, I can just crank them out. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'm like pounding my head against the wall and like I'm like, this isn't funny, right? Like,
how do you get yourself in a more creative mood when you are about to record something, but you don't feel like high energy, or you don't feel super creative? Because there are a lot of times where I'll put shit off because I'm just not in the mood. There are other times I'll start and I'll feel like just starting feeling kind of shitty. Yeah. I eventually get into the mood. What do you do when you're feeling low energy?
That's a good point. Like sometimes I try to grind through it. Like sometimes like I just have to start doing it, and then I like get the juices flowing a little bit. Sometimes when I just like don't feel it, I just don't feel it. And unless I have to do it, I will like try to do something that's not creative, but related to it. So it's like, instead of filming this video, I'll just I'll come up with 5 or 6 ideas for videos to make in the future, and just like, or like pull a bunch of pictures to make memes out of. Like I'll just like do like a little bit more like grunt work that is on the creative side, but it's like outlining a sketch instead of writing the sketch. So it's like stuff like that where it's like, okay, I don't have the juice right now, but I can do other things that like will still help me down the road.
What's your goal, let's say 5 years from now?
Yeah.
In terms of comedy, what sort of set do you want to be walking onto? Is it more individual vibe where you're filming videos? Is it more for yourself? Is it more like short form TikTok Reels content, or is it more sketch comedy, like stuff for YouTube? Maybe even getting on a film set, like filming a short film where you have the freedom and the director's just fucking like run with it. Total improv.
I like, that's a question that I ask myself a lot, is like I think it's like my long-term goal has always been to do comedy and get paid to do it. Preferably a lot of money to do it, right? So it's like
I would like a lot of money as well.
Is that okay? Like,
could you give me some of that when you start making it? Just
I'll share it with you.
Podcasting's a slow burn, so you could loan me out.
I'll finance you.
You can definitely. I'll come on to Work, Retire, Die, and we'll figure it out.
Exactly. But I think like to me, there's like different avenues to get there. So like. I like doing sketches. I like writing. I like performing. I also write screenplays. I've written like TV pilots for like TV shows. So like I am interested in being a screenwriter, an actor, for, that kind of thing. I think like I mentioned Jimmy Tatro earlier. Yeah. I also I admire him and Lil Dicky a lot because you know who Lil Dicky is. Richmond guy.
Richmond Roll Spides, baby. Saw him at Toucans.
Hell yeah,
blacked
dude.
out. I think it was sophomore year.
He's probably the biggest Richmond alum. Todd McShay, the second best NFL draft expert.
Lil Dicky's definitely number one right now. He's got the cup.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And it's a coveted cup, as we all know. But what I admire about them is like they made themselves so big on the internet that it was kind of undeniable when they wanted to take that next step to like have their own TV show. Jimmy Tatro's in movies. He's on an ABC TV show now. And like he started out making YouTube sketches. So it's like I like eventually, like obviously those guys are really talented, grinded away for years, crazy viral all the time. Like that, but that's the trajectory that I kind of would like to go down, where it's like I don't necessarily need to have my own show, but like I would love to like write or be in TV and movies.
Where you get so good at what you do that the opportunities get harder and harder to turn down. Yeah. Who's someone right now? Because you mentioned Jimmy Tatro, and I know he made a TV show recently, but he's kind of slowed down. He hasn't been on YouTube as much. Who's someone that you look to now as inspiration and the sketch comedy scene on YouTube?
There's this guy called Ben Marshall. He's this ginger guy, and he's like so fucking funny on like TikTok and Twitter, and like I think he's part of a sketch group. So he's probably my age, maybe he's even younger. He might even be younger than me. But like him and 2 or 3 of his roommates are all in I don't know if they're actually roommates, but they film these like videos in their apartment that are like 1-minute sketches, and like it reminds me a lot of the Kyle Mooney sketch group. I think, Good Neighbor. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've definitely seen the name Kyle Mooney.
Yeah, Kyle Mooney's on SNL. He and Beck Bennett, who's also on SNL, they had a sketch comedy team. And they like went crazy viral on YouTube, and then they made it to SNL. And like these guys, his name is Ben Marshall Style. And he has 2 or 3 roommates. I don't remember the names off the top of my head. But
I'll check him out though.
They do a really good job of like 1-minute crazy cuts, but it's like fucking hilarious every time. And like I think those guys, as far as I know, like they don't have like agents or anything yet, but like I'm sure they'll get there one day. So I admire that.
Something I wanted to get into with you, because I imagine most people who are listening to or watching this podcast fit into this category. And I'm in that category, which is where you have another outlet that you are working on building towards being your bread and butter. So for me, that's podcasting. But you have this sickness inside you. We were talking about before the podcast, like I feel like for these TikToks that I put out, sometimes I'm just like, I feel like sick, like this demon in me that I need to get out on TikTok, and it has nothing to do with my podcast. There's maybe, there's not going to be a lot of people that follow me from these random sketches on TikTok to the podcast. Some do, which is great. And if you're watching right now, thank you.
What's up?
What's up? But so for someone like me who falls into that category of the casual, I don't even know if you call it like sketch artist, because
Yeah.
that would be an insult to people who write sketches, but like someone who wants to casually fire off comedy content, but doesn't put in more than maybe 5 to 10 hours a week doing it, what would be some tips that you have that would be maybe low effort things that you see a lot of people doing wrong, or the quick little things you can change maybe about your mindset or your approach that will make a big difference for the casual comedy person who's putting out content?
That's a good question. I think probably just, it depends who you are. Like, you just do it. Like, you just put them out a lot. But I think a lot of people will make one or two and then be like, I don't really want to do it anymore. Like, I think you should kind of
they don't have the sickness.
Yeah, they don't have the sickness
inside of me.
Yeah, you have mental problems, which is fine.
I do. That's why I have these therapist notes. These are actually for me.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you're listening, I have notes that we're gonna get to for Jack to discuss for therapy.
Yeah, I'm scared for that.
Yeah.
But I think I think that most people like have trouble just consistently doing stuff when they don't see results. And like, I think the more we talked about earlier, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So I think like that would probably be one thing. I also think like just thinking about what you think is funny. Like, a lot of times people get caught up in like, are other people going to like this? Is this going to be good for like my audience? And like, that is important to think about if you're a content creator. But like, I think if you're just doing it for fun, just like do what you think is funny. The one tip I will say for internet stuff is like that I've learned over the course of 2 or 3 years is like shorter is always better. And it's like, I feel like when I first started, I was making like 4 or 5 minute shorts, which were funny, but like, it just doesn't get it. People's attention spans are so short, which is like why TikTok is taken off, why Reels is even shorter than TikToks. And like, you need to like cut your clips up like 8 seconds a clip if you're having like a back and forth, like, but if you're just having fun with it, just have fun with it, and like you'll figure out what you like to do.
No, I feel that. I was when I first started TikTok, one of the people that got me to pay attention to it was Lil Nas X with Old Town Road, blew up on there. And then recently with Montero, dude, he's fucking killing the game.
He also like posts like a normal like he posted one the other day where it was like, I heard it's like him like standing there like looking nervous, and it's like, I heard he can't even fart, like he doesn't even shit right. And then like he just like farts, and it's like, oh my god, he farts so good. It's like,
exactly.
That's something like a fucking 20-year-old would post on the internet.
And I noticed that he does so many short videos. When I was going through his TikTok, I'm like, how does this dude, like everything he puts out goes so viral on TikTok? And he was probably putting out these like 7, maybe 10-second videos.
Combined are a minute, like like if you add them all together.
It's so I definitely feel the shorter is better vibe, and sometimes
it's tough though, because like I do like longer stuff.
So and it's hard because of my ego. I think everything that I put in the video, I'm like, I can't take this line out. And like I'm one line away from 20 million likes on TikTok. Like I can't cut that line. And then when I do cut it, I'm like, fuck. Like, that's the reason why I didn't blow up. Like,
I know. That's like that's like, I'm still not very good at it, because like a lot of times I'll make a video that's exactly a minute long, but like it really should be like 30. I mean, but at the end of the day, it's a back and forth where it's like, if you're making things specifically to go viral, you're not like, it's a different thing than like making something that you think is good.
So I have a therapist question for you, where you can perform therapy on me before I get into the question. The deeper questions about Work, Retire, Die. Cop the merch, Jack.
Yeah, there you go. Work, Retire, Die. Shop.
Hell yeah. So one thing that I've run into recently on TikTok, because it seems to be more kid friendly, is that certain words or phrases get flagged super easily, even if they're not overly derogatory. It's just like sometimes
like weed or ass.
Sometimes I'll spend 30 minutes making a video and I'm like, I think I got everything out, and then one word will be in there and it gets taken down. Would you tell someone, like, for me, this is me right now. would you tell
You're
me?
Just getting
yeah,
TikTok
I'm getting,
advice.
I'm
from
getting,
me.
yeah, I'm getting. This is why I have you. This isn't even a podcast.
Yeah,
this is all just,
this
I
is
don't
all-
have. Yeah,
yeah.
this is all. We're
Nothing's
recording. Yeah, yeah. This is. I'm getting consulting for you before you
Exactly.
open Work.Retire.Die.
Yeah, I will be
consulting.
invoicing
Yeah,
you
you'll
after
be.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 years from now when you set it up,
Are
the
you-
LLC for Work.Retire.Die consulting,
Exactly.
I'll get an invoice. But for me, would you say adjust what I think is funny to TikTok, or maybe just stick to IG Reels and YouTube, where you know it may get demonetized, but it's not going to get taken down, which is honestly all I care about. Like if a video, it's not like I'm killing it on, like I'm not sustaining myself off of YouTube or IG. So it's like,
Who is really like?
Yeah. Would you say maybe make things like make a watered down version for TikTok? Kind of like Chunky's dead. I feel like I love her. She gets away with so much on TikTok, but she also gets demonetized every other day, and she gets so many videos taken down. And she's really fucking funny.
Yeah.
And
so it depends what your goal. Like like if you're someone, if you want to get like me, it's like I want to get big enough that I get noticed. Like I don't really care about being big on TikTok outside of getting noticed. So like, if you would do that, if you just want to get noticed, then I would keep it in. I also think like it's such a tough question to be like, should I make something that people is catered towards my audience, or something that I think is good? And like, it's a tough question that I always like try to figure out on my end, where it's like there's a medium ground where like I do like try to do like 80-20 personally, which I feel like is like a concept that it's like 80% of the things that I do is like maybe even more like 70-30. I was like, I know my audience likes this is what they want. Then the other part is like, this is for me. It's like George Clooney's like, I do one movie for them, one movie for me.
I like that.
You're not George Clooney. I'm not George Clooney, but did that answer your question or not?
No,
really?
that
like,
did.
You could also just change the font to not say weed and just.
That's true.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll just say it and I don't put in the text. Yeah, I don't put in the captions.
There you go. Problem solved.
For some, like sometimes it still does get taken down, but like
I feel like that happened to me. Like I had a 420 TikTok that I was like, this is fucking hilarious, but it like said weed like 5 times, and it's like, it got like 0 views. It's like,
it takes the wind out of you when you spend
it's
so much time on a video
horrible.
and it gets taken down. You're like, fuck.
Or
this
it just
shit.
doesn't. It gets like 200 plays, and you just like are scrolling. You're like refreshing it, and you're like, what the fuck? Like,
I do like the George Clooney thing though. One movie for them, one movie for
that
me.
he wants to do. Where it's like, you know, at a certain
one
point,
for you, one for me.
One for them, one for me, and it's like, you know, it's like. At the end of the day, if you're in the business of being a content creator, like it's important to have a big audience to like give you money and give you a platform. But like, then you also want to do the stuff that you like to do that maybe half of those people will go see that, but it doesn't really matter. Cause like to get the opportunities to do the stuff you want to do, you sometimes have to do the stuff that you know is going to do well, but you don't necessarily like aren't crazy about all the time.
Yeah. Like you do stuff that you know is going to do well that may not be the most fulfilling, so that you can grow an audience to where you don't have to worry about it as much, where everything, like you can kind of feed that sickness a little bit more, and you don't have to worry. Like you're like, well, I know at this point people are going to watch what I put out, but it's building up to that, you have to be methodical and I feel like a little bit more cold and calculated with content, where you're like, this is like, I not like faking liking something, but more like I could change this a little bit, and I think it would be maybe funnier to me. Yeah. But I know my audience is gonna eat this shit up, and it's not gonna get taken down. So let me put it out like this.
And also, like at the end of the day, like you're still making a meme, or you're still like, if you're a musician, you're like putting out a song. It's like no one's telling anyone to like sell out completely, but like. There's a million musicians who made, like Kanye started off making normal songs, and then he started to make the music that he wanted to, but then he's still fucking Kanye West.
And then when you have that's the difference between geniuses and starving artists. The geniuses have a big enough platform to where
Yes.
whatever they put out,
Yeah.
they'd be like, dude, like this song only got 2 million streams instead of 2 billion because like it's just a genius and no one understands it.
It still got 2 million streams.
Whereas if you don't have a platform, it's just like you suck.
You get
like,
two. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So the ratio's not there.
Yeah.
Let's get into Work, Retire, Die.
Let's do it.
Now that we've warmed up the chops a little bit.
Yeah.
So for people who may not be familiar with Work, Retire, Die, why? Well, first, what is Work, Retire, Die, and why did you choose to go with that name? What does Work, Retire, Die mean on a deeper level to you?
Yeah. So Work, Retire, Die is comedy lifestyle brand that I started 4 years ago or so. It basically kind of parodies and mocks corporate America a little bit, but it's mainly like relatable humor for white collar office workers. We have a blog, we have an Instagram page where I do memes, tweets, videos, YouTube page where I do videos, and we sell merch too. So I've been doing it for a few years. I think the phrase started when we were graduating. One of my friends' grandpas was like, all right, so like all that's left is like, now you work, retire, and die. And we're all just like, fuck. And like we would like chant like work, retire, die.
Yeah.
Like before it happened. And so I just kind of shamelessly stole it from like my group of friends, but whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't come up with it, but it was like a thing we said. But I think to me, the phrase, like, it kind of touches on something that I think most people can relate to is like throughout your life, you're like going to high school, you're going to college, there's like always the next thing. And then you graduate and you're kind of just like, fuck, like there's like no more milestones. You're just like, I'm really just like working until I'm 70 and I'm going to go die. And to me, it's like, it's kind of just speaking to that, like a little bit of an existential dread almost, but it's like, it's kind of like figuring out, commenting on the monotony of that, while at the same time, trying to rise above it almost.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I feel like the content that you make does a really good job at, like you said, poking fun at the monotony of office life and all kind of like the little things, even if it's signing off Zoom or it's someone fucking up their screen share in the middle of a meeting. And it's just like all these things that actually happen in corporate America that everyone kind of just like goes through with tight buttholes, and they're just like, this is the work part before I retire and die.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
like, but actually taking a step back and making fun of it kind of releases the pressure a little bit, where you see how awkward and ridiculous office life can be. Like, it's not normal to be cooped up inside a cubicle for 9 to 12 hours a day. And there's a lot of weird shit that happens in the office that no one talks about.
Yeah. And I think like, so I was in corporate America for 5 years. I recently quit my job in October. But I felt like one of my main frustrations was that everyone was just taking everything so seriously. And it's like, why are we like speaking in all these buzzwords? Or like, why am I getting like yelled at about an email that's getting sent to our subscribers? I used to work on Crock-Pot as a slow cooker.
Okay.
I saw you have an Instapot, by the way. You need to throw that out.
Yes, I do. We're actually sponsored by Instapot. No.
But I was like, we're sending it on email to Crock-Pot subscribers.
Yeah.
And like, half of them aren't going to open it. But like, people are like fucking taking themselves so seriously.
You make one typo and they think like Crock-Pot stock's going to tank 30%.
Like, no one gives a shit at the end of the day. And like, I get it. Like, I'm not trying to like shit on people's careers, but I'm just saying like, I do feel like for most things in life, just people need to take themselves like a little bit less seriously and like just realize like we're all fucking people like doing this made up thing called selling slow cookers to other people. Like it's not life or death at the end of the day. Yeah.
What's your favorite buzzword you think for you to make fun of? Because you have a good amount of buzzwords and I'm trying to think of some now, but it's like I'm trying to think of the buzzwords and now they're not coming to my
there's
brain.
a lot, like circle back is a
circle
big
back's
one.
Yeah, we'll circle. There's like a lot of
synergy or like optimize synergy. It's like
synthesis,
why do we have to
synthesize.
say that? Yeah. Like circle back is a big one. Follow up offline is my favorite one because like it's stuff like passive aggressiveness where it's like, yeah, like what does follow up online with that, or like maybe this is better served in like a separate phone call where it's like you're basically saying like, dude, shut the fuck up. You're like making this really awkward, but like, why don't you just email me this on the side so we're not like embarrassing ourselves in front of everyone.
I'm gonna start saying that on the podcast. That's a really good point, but we should definitely follow up offline about
we'll
this.
Touch base on that on a separate.
We're gonna circle back to this at the end.
Like let's not put this on the public facing stuff.
No, that's a good point. There's like this odd email lingo where you have to maintain a certain level of professionalism and also get across the point that you want to get across, which may be to fuck off, but because you work for, and I understand it too, like
it don't make sense why people do it.
Like having a full-time job in a therapy company. Like I definitely deal with kind of like some of the bullshit with just communication and other, like it. I could tell for myself and employees, like people would rather just be straight up, but it's like the corporate culture, it's the structure that forces you to like communicate in a certain way because no one wants to get fired. And there's this weird dynamic of I want to communicate this really straightforward thing and I need to use indirect language to do so. Right. And so that's where circle back comes from like, dude, it's fucking 4:58 and it's Friday. Like, go fuck yourself.
Can we not talk about this right now? Like, like I'm just like, why can't we just say that? Yeah, and it makes sense. And I feel like it does make you sound really smart, though. Like, I feel like when I first started working, my bosses who were like 6 or 7 years older than me were talking in all these buzzwords, and I was like, holy shit, these people are like so fucking smart. Like, I wish it's a language and you just like learn it by being around it. And like, it's so funny. Like we were talking about this a little bit earlier where it's like you're home for quarantine and you hear like your dad or like your brother on like a work call and you're just seeing this person who like doesn't talk like that, like speaking professionally, and it's like, dude, what are you fucking doing?
Dude, like, so one of the ideas that popped into my sickness recently that I need to get out on TikTok.
Your TikTok
has to do with buzzwords. My girlfriend is French, and so I recently downloaded Duolingo to try to learn some French to talk to her parents. Okay. And this idea for like, I guess I could do it by myself or maybe with someone else, depending on how it goes. But it's like, it would be really funny to do a Duolingo, but for like corporate speak. Yes. And I've never really done like a corporate speak thing, but it'd be a good board game. Like, it tells you to say it out loud. And I feel like an idiot saying French shit out loud that I can't even pronounce in my apartment, where it's just like the translation for circle back is fuck off, it's Friday. And it's like, fuck off, it's Friday. And then it's just like, it gives you like a check, like on Duolingo. And it's like, then it gives you the opposite translation. But I was like, there needs to be some sort of app for corporate America speak where you can practice it like outside the office.
Because you do need to know it. And like, it's not like, I'm not going to change the system. Like, unless you're going to fucking dismantle the way people talk, like, you do need to be like fluent in it to then operate outside of it. But yeah, I like what you're saying. Like, we used to do like buzzword dictionaries where it's like you use it in a sentence and then like using circle back in a non-corporate sentence. So it's like, imagine, it kind of pokes fun. It's like, imagine if we spoke like this in like normal ways. Like if you're like, dude, like, do you want to go out tonight? It's like, I had a long week. That's out of scope for me, man. Like, sorry. Like, okay, man. Like, just tell me you're too tired. Like,
or if you're at a bar and you walk up to a girl and you're trying to hit on her and she's like, sorry, like I'm just not feeling the synergy right now.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
maybe we should circle back like at a later date.
Yeah. We'll follow up offline.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That would
can you
be
not
hilarious.
reject me in front of all these people?
Yeah, getting rejected in corporate speak. If it's
Getting
not already
brutally
available, it needs to be
rejected.
like
Yeah.
a video right now. That'd be fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
So something I wanted to get into, since a big part of Work, Retire, Die, and still is a huge part of Work, Retire, Die, is memes.
Yep.
Before we get into some examples of memes that you've created, for you, what makes a good meme? Like, what is the defining characteristic of a good meme? And I honestly get jealous when I see really good memes, because
Same.
as a podcaster, I have an idea that I want to convey, and it may take me 5 to 7 minutes to get a point out or something.
Yeah.
And then I see a meme that says the same exact thing and then like I see it in 5 seconds. I'm like, oh, I could have just said this. I could have just showed this to someone and be like,
right, like this
me.
is what my entire podcast episode was about.
Just look at this meme and you don't have to listen to this podcast. So for you, what makes a good meme?
I think it's gotta be simple is the first thing, like you said, like simple, relatable, and specific. And like, so the relatable and specific things are a little different, but it's like I'm trying to think of a good example where it's like, maybe it's a picture of a guy. There's a meme template where it's like a picture of a guy texting at a table while there's like a group of people fighting over there. So like everyone can relate to the feeling of like other people are doing something else and you don't care about it. So I think I maybe made a meme that was like, people in my office fighting over promotions, me at my desk researching underwater civilization conspiracies. Something like that. So it's like specifically and like weird a little bit, but everyone's like, oh yeah, I look up conspiracies, but it's like, I could just be like me at my desk on Twitter. And like, that's like not as funny as like, do you know what I mean? Where it's like, you need to be a little more specific, but keep it relatable at the same time. It's a tough balance to strike.
So almost to the point where you're being specific enough where you think it may be too specific, but in reality, it's right at the point where everyone else knows what you're
so like that
about.
Example might actually have been too specific. I don't know if that meme did really well. Like
I felt it. It was a verbal meme, and I still got it.
Yeah. I think that's it. And then I think like just also having the picture be funny too, which is like out of your control. But like I find it, I'm on Reddit all the time, and Reddit is like a bloodbath of just like some of the darkest, meanest people on the internet. I used to like promote my YouTube videos on Reddit, and the comments are so mean.
Dude, it is I'll promote. I could go back without looking at which videos I put on Reddit just by going in my YouTube history and seeing the comments, and I'd be like, I posted that one on Reddit. Go fuck you. Like, you're a fucking joke, bro. Like,
it's like,
you go fucking
Christ,
die.
guys.
I'm just like,
so I don't really post on Reddit anymore, but I do. There's like a lot of threads that have like meme templates that like I'll find stuff off Twitter and shit like that.
Yeah.
But,
so you find the picture first, and then you see the picture and you think, oh, this is gold. Like, I need to use this, or you have the idea and you're looking for a picture that fits the idea.
Yeah, that's a good. I think it's both. It's like I'll like write down like 5 or 6 ideas, and then I'll find a bunch of pictures, and then sometimes I'll mash them together. Sometimes I won't. Like sometimes the picture leads to the idea. Sometimes the idea leads to the picture. And then like it's also so my page is like memes, tweets. I do like video memes too. Video memes have been big lately, where like Friday Beer. Do you know what Friday Beers is?
No.
Friday Beers is like it's a fucking sick page. I love this page, and they basically have like 15 to 30 second videos that a lot of times are like movie clips or like sports things, and they'll put text over the things, and it's about like drinking stuff, but like you see the thing is like I do this, then I do that, and it's like almost a story told over movie clips. Is the
actual photo? Is it a photo or like
it's
the photo
a video
chaining?
of like a scene from Step Brothers, but it's like me telling my
Yes,
brother like we're not going out tonight, and he's like we're fucking going out tonight, but like they're saying it's a weird. It's hard to describe it.
I've seen. I know what you're talking about. I've seen a lot of it on TikTok too, where people will take a scene and there's kind of this,
or it's like a battle scene,
this through line emotion of the scene, but you replace the dialogue with like some, like your own dialogue, but you still get the idea that it's this person against this person, and you kind of replace them.
So like that is the thing where it's like sometimes there's so many formats to deliver these things that it's like figuring out the right, like, is this better as a tweet, or like, is this better as a meme?
Perfect segue. I printed out a few memes for us to go through. So for people that are listening, I'm going to link these memes in the podcast description so you can follow along with us if you like. If you're driving, this might
be the first time someone's printed out one of my memes. It's
so exciting. I apologize for the lack of color, and also for the video podcast. If you're watching this, I'm going to put it in the corner somewhere in the YouTube video, so you'll see the full color version. So for the first one we have up, this one says, "That's just the way we've always done it." And then there's on the bottom left corner, "Cool new disruptive idea backed by data and trend analysis." And I'm butchering it, but you can see it if you're watching or listening. And it looks like there's this huge ship. So I'm gonna hand this picture to you, and while people are like following along, people tell me what you see. Can you describe what was going through your head when you made this? Kind of what was the idea? How you came up with the caption and things like that?
So like this was during that canal. The boats were stuck in the canal. Mm-hmm. So this is basically showing an immovable object, and like, it's pretty funny because it's like they're trying to move this boat with like the smallest little tractor. So it's like an immovable object that this guy is trying to move, but it's like clearly a fruitless task. So I'm starting to think like, how did this apply to work? And it's like, to me, like one of the things that's always was frustrating to me is like, I would think I would come up with ideas that I thought would be like, oh, it'd be cool if we did this. But a lot of the times people are like, you know, every October we send out this email, like, or we do this.
We've always done it this way.
We've always done this, and like, it's
since like 1950.
It's like, okay, then like, what are we doing here just to repeat the same thing? So I think it's something a lot of, especially younger people, can relate to, where like the mantra of "that's the way we've always done it" is just easier. And like, I think that's a thing with working in an office, is you just get set into, and I definitely got set into this, is like, how can I do my job in the least amount of work possible? 100%. Which is like kind of the vibe. And like at the end of the day, like that's fine, but like you do feel like a little bad about yourself by the end of it. Yeah. And like,
well, you're incentivized that way too, because like if you're getting paid the same and you're getting results that you're not getting fired for, then why
there's
change
no
it up?
Reason. Yeah. Well, and then that's the kind of thing. It's like, it's almost in a company like that, like it's almost not worth it to try really hard, because it's like all your stuff is going to get shot down, and you can get the same results by giving 20% effort. Yeah. So it's like, at the same time, I was like, when I was working corporate America, I was like, okay, I'm just going to work on Work.Retire.Die and my comedy stuff on the sides. For years, I was giving 30% effort at work and doing stuff at work. And I literally was getting promoted.
So I'm guessing a huge part of that was learning the corporate lingo.
Yes.
So if you weren't doing something that you're supposed to be doing, you could sound smart and they'll be like, dude, Jack's like, dude, how is this dude not vice president?
Yeah.
And then you go back to work.
I feel like most people can relate to this too, where it's like, if you've been doing the same job for like 2 years, you can just get away with murder, because like if you actually need to do something really quickly, like you know how to do it, like you've done it 100 times. Like, you can just fucking do it, and you don't want to do it too fast at the beginning, because then people expect you to do it at that speed. So you're like,
you want to set the finished bar, but like I'm gonna wait till tomorrow to be like, oh, I got this done, just so the next time they'll think this is an overnight task. You always want
like someone to ask you to something, you'd be like, I mean, I got a lot on my plate right now.
That was good. Like, like that could be
rub your head like, Jesus. When do you need this by? End of day, Jesus. Is tomorrow okay? And like, I could do it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's like,
I think you just you made a meme right there. You just need like the concept.
There you go. That's it right there.
But yeah, I think I just realized why I love memes, and I never really thought about it this deeply before, but memes are like a metaphor. Like you said, there's this immovable object, there's this huge ship in a canal, and that is immovable just like the tradition at a company. No matter how
Right.
good your idea is, no matter if it's going to take 10 times less work and will bring 10 times more return.
Right.
This ship, this immovable tradition is staying there.
It takes a lot to steer it.
And memes
Yeah.
are, in a sense, like, if everyone compiled all the memes that were ever made, there would be like this metaphor search engine where you
Yeah.
could search like a movable object,
Right.
and it would be like
this
here's all
meme
the
template was used on a million different meme pages that were like, maybe it's about like dating, and it's like finding a girlfriend, and it's like,
yeah,
it's like, yeah, like dying alone, like me getting shift. I don't know.
and then
that doesn't make sense. Yeah, but you change it to the
well, you could
theme.
become an immovable object if you get shit
so I'm
faced.
trying to figure out
if you
what
get
it
drunk,
is.
if you get drunk enough to where you can't move yourself.
Yes.
And then your friends are trying to move you.
Yeah.
Or where
Or
the
it could be
drinking
like-
itself becomes immovable, where you're an alcoholic.
Yes, and that's a little
And
darker, but we enjoy those kind of things.
Yes, we
here.
do. That's a Reddit.
Yeah.
That's a Reddit meme, right?
Yeah, it's
there.
like horrible personal habits, and it's like buying a salad for lunch.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So like, yeah, that's like why memes are cool, because you figure it out.
We have the second one coming up. This one looks like a trade offer, and it says, "I receive your happiness." Corporate America looks like they're plotting in the middle, and then it says, "You receive a thermos with our logo on it at Christmas." So break down this one right here. What was the idea behind it?
So
kind of the
I
process?
really like this template because it's pretty fun. It's pretty simple too, and you get what they're saying. And I think the guy's face is really funny. So like, this is an example to me of like a good template that makes the meme pretty good.
You saw that and you were like,
I was like,
I'm going to make
use it.
something
Yeah,
with this.
and it's going to be corporate America is the guy, and then what do they get? What do you get? And I think like, to me, it's funny that you're like, at the end of the, like, a thermos with our logo on it at Christmas is such to me, a very relatable thing that like people are like, thanks, $1 billion corporation. Like, you gave us a T-shirt that says Newell Brands on it, and like, when am I gonna wear
this
that?
cost you 30 cents to have some little Thai boy make, and so like, I've been working here for 10 years. Thank you so much.
It's like, thank you for 20 years of service. Here's a mug.
And
it's
it's super applicable during COVID for getting released or laid off from a company where it's like, oh, Sharon, sorry, like,
thank you for 20
I know
years
you've given us 20 years here, but
I received 20
we
years
have
of
this
service.
college kid that's willing to do your work remote for a third of the price. So here's a mug. Like, thank you so much.
Like, I mean, obviously you get more than a thermos from you get a job and benefits. Like, but I think at the end of the day, people are like, I think it relates, or people like feel like they're sacrificing a lot, and at the end of the day, you spend a lot of your time at work, right? Like, if you're working a 9 to 5, commuting, that's like most of your day. That's 70% of your week.
Yeah.
And I feel like what I was feeling, it was like, I'm giving so much of my time to something that does not make me happy at all. And what am I getting from it? A thermos with my logo on at Christmas. Not actually true, but like, I feel like people can relate to that a little bit, where I think there's a lot of unhappy people who are white collar workers.
Yeah. It's
at the end of the day. But it's almost like, what else is there? Like, you feel bad complaining because you get, a middle class salary, and like, you get your own apartment. But you're like, I actually felt like I was, I felt like I would be like so unhappy during the week, and then just like drink like crazy on the weekend because I was so fucking miserable, and then like go back, and I was like, I was spending more money when I was making more money. Do you know what I mean? And like, I'm saving more money now that I'm not making like a quarter of what I was before,
Yeah, no, I feel that a lot, even with like podcasting. I don't even know if I would call it on the side, because it feels like a second job, but it's like, it's more play. So it's like, I don't feel like I'm doing 70 hours a week of work. I feel like the podcasting is more just like, this is my break, and on the weekends I can feel like I'm just like, all right, I'm not gonna go out. COVID obviously helps with that too.
Yeah, it helps
like,
to get COVID helped.
Yeah,
a lot to
it's
get
like
focused.
I can have someone over on a Saturday afternoon, record a podcast, like fucking write some shit for
for your demon.
a video, for my demon, and like plan out some other podcast, shoot off some emails for guests. I'm just like, this feels like work, but it's more of a play thing, and whereas a lot of people in corporate America feel like their fucking souls are getting like you're getting the job and you're getting the stability, but at the same time everyone has those demons. And I'm super grateful that I'm in a position where I can feed those demons in the form of content, where a lot of people like kind of feel
don't
trapped,
have an outlet.
and it keeps growing and growing and growing. Like the demon gets fed and then it goes away when I record a podcast. But some people are just like, I have 2 kids and I want to start a podcast or do a blog, and it's honestly, like, well, fuck.
That was part of what inspired me to start when I was like 23, 24, because I was kind of like, I can see getting very trapped in this life, and like I'm like, if I don't start now, and I think this is the same for everybody, like if you don't start now, you're never, like, time is ticking, like you are going to die, right? Like and you don't want to look up and be 35, 40, married with kids and be like, fuck, I should have done this. You can still do it if you're 35, 40, married and kids. It's just harder.
100%.
But I feel like we're very lucky that like we have something that we're good at and we like doing as an outlet. I think more people have that than they think, and it just is a matter of doing it. But it's not for me to say because I have that thing. Like it's hard for me to like.
It feels tough to start a creative pursuit at the start because you think about everything that's going to go wrong. Yeah. And there's a lot of work that you have to front load at the beginning to get shit set up. So a lot of people don't get past that front loading phase.
People make fun of you too. Like people. Yeah. Like people what is this guy doing? Like. Yeah, I feel like people said that about me. Like, what is Jack doing? Like, what is he doing? Yeah. Like, I mean, and it's hard to like push through that if you don't care enough to push through it.
It's hard. I used to feel like I had to explain myself to people who didn't get the podcast stuff or even some of the weird TikTok videos, and then I just realized that it's wasting, like if someone else doesn't get it or if someone else doesn't like it, which is totally okay. I'm not creating content for everyone. It's wasting the energy that I could be putting into content explaining why this is not crazy or weird. And some of it is, some of it may be.
But I think like, that comes with like experience and success, or not success, but like success. Cause like I feel like I don't need as much validation because I feel like I've been doing it for so long and it's done well that like I don't really care if someone thinks it's weird that I'm doing it because like I know it's fine. But like I definitely didn't feel that way for like 2 years. Like if I had heard someone talking about me behind my back and saying like, what does Jack think he's doing? Like that would have ruined me in 2018, right?
And it's crazy that one meme explains the past 5 minutes of conversation. we're still discussing this meme. We're still on the second meme. Like it's crazy that this one meme said all of that.
It's power memes, brother.
That's the power memes.
That's power memes.
Look at it. We put one meme in front of our face and we're just like pouring our souls out.
That's how you should
to
structure your podcast now, is memes,
dude.
Conversation starters.
I hope it's okay that I bring this up. But you called me about a podcast probably like 4 or 5 months ago. Has there been any plannings in the work for a podcast, like even structured around memes? Like that would be a fucking hilarious podcast where you have guests on and you have a segment. You're just like, let's talk about this meme.
I did call you and you were very helpful. I feel like at the time it's still something I want to do. I feel like it's a lot of work to get it, to grow it, I feel like. And I feel like I have a lot of other balls in the air right now that I don't want to...
Balls in the air. That's a good corp.
There you go. I can't fucking help it.
Balls in the air, baby.
Fuck. I don't want to like start it and then like miss 3 weeks. I want to like know that I can do it and commit to it. So that's why I haven't done it. That's also probably an excuse realistically. But I do have a lot of other creative balls in the air. Fuck it. Creative
no.
activities
that makes sense.
I'm like,
it makes sense.
I don't want to half-ass it.
Like my main thing is podcasting, so I can like it affords me the ability to fire off TikTok videos, which is much more low effort.
And I feel like you can't fire off podcasts.
Yeah, you can't like really fire off a podcast. So I definitely benefit from like the thing that I'm doing casually is just like I put a phone in front of my face and 5 minutes later I have this video. It's hard to.
But I would like. I think my vision for it was like talking about corporate America and interviewing people who have side hustles or left corporate America, with like every week talking about an office related topic, like how to flirt with your crush on Zoom, and like giving tips. Like I feel like
it's hard to flirt with your crush on Zoom. The sexual tension can get a lot.
You got to eat oysters.
Especially when they're married.
Eat oysters on the Zoom, brother.
Really?
Natural aphrodisiac.
Really?
Don't actually do that.
Okay. I'll stop doing that then.
Yeah. I was just doing that for lunch.
I'll cancel the oysters that I had being delivered for the middle of this podcast. Yeah. Last meme, serial killers. I love this one. So we have 2 kids standing scared in the corner.
Yep.
And again, you can follow along with this linked in the bio if you're, or linked in the podcast description if you're listening. You'll see this up on the video. 2 kids scared in the corner, serial killers and psychopaths. It says on one side of the picture, and then there's a bunny rabbit and a bucket where it says people who don't use a second monitor for Excel.
Yes.
And I thought this was hilarious. Can you break this one down for me? Do our audience the pleasure.
Yeah, let's do it. So basically you got 2 people that are scared of something. And then serials and psychopaths is like the person who doesn't use a second monitor for Excel is even worse than a psychopath and a serial killer. So that's like the basic thing. And I think it's just like a kind of funny thing that people are like, yeah, like who doesn't use a second monitor for Excel? You have to be crazy not to do that. But I think it's like a funny way of delivering that one joke. I actually don't use a second monitor for Excel. So I'm kind of making fun of myself here. I used to, when I was working in the office, I stopped using a second monitor because I would make memes all the time. And a couple times I would like accidentally have it up on my second monitor, and like my boss would come up by and be like, what is this? And I'd be like, oh, nothing.
Yeah.
So eventually I had to just like keep it to my laptop. And I was like, it's terrible for you. Like I'm hunching like this. So I'm like making an
Did
Excel
anyone
sheet.
in the office, did your friends in the office know that you were doing Work, Retire, Die? Or did you keep it secret, except with your friends outside of the same company?
Yeah, I had one friend who knew about it for the whole time. He's my friend David. He's also a comedian. So when I like started, I would like ask him for feedback on stuff, and like he helped me with it. By the end, there was probably 3 or 4 people who I was friends with who knew. But when I quit my job in October, and I had been wanting to for a while. We could talk about this now or another point. But like, I basically was like, I had been living at home for a while and saved up a bunch of money. So I was lucky enough for that I was able to quit and figure it out. But anyways, I quit my job and I told my bosses that I was pursuing a career in comedy. And like, I had never mentioned that I did comedy. So they were like, okay, like, I guess you're funny. Like, you don't like, I'm not like that funny in the workplace. Do you know what I mean? Like they're like, okay, like I would be on a call and like someone would be like, oh, Jack's leaving us to like be a screenwriter, and like the boss, like 50-year-old guys would be like, all right, good luck with that. Like
the boss would say that.
Well, they were out loud, and like they were my friends, and like I was tight with my bosses. Like a lot of my memes making fun of my bosses is not like about them. Like they were very cool and they were genuinely excited for me. But like it was funny to be on calls with people who I only knew vaguely as a professional person, and being like, I'm pursuing comedy, and they're like, okay, like,
all right, bro.
You've never made a joke on a call, but whatever. But then I told them on the last day, and I was like, please don't be like I told my friends on the last day who I worked with, and I was like, don't be mad, but like I've been making memes about how much I hate this job for like 3 years. But they all actually thought it was cool, and they all thought it was funny because they all were like, this is relatable. And like by that point it was big. It was like 15, 20K ish. Yeah. So they were like, oh, this is like an actual thing. Yeah. Like you're not like being.
And you have over 50K now on Instagram, baby. Yeah. Popping off.
I know. It's been a big ride. Like I was talking about this in another podcast, but like when I quit my job, it was interesting. It was kind of wild. Like I had known I wanted to, after in like the beginning of September, but I was like, I need another month or so, maybe 2 months of like getting paychecks to save a little bit more money. But I knew I was going to quit. And I had been doing really well in my career at this company. And my boss gave me, like, pulling me aside, gave me like an unscheduled, or I guess it was scheduled, but she gave me like a 10% raise the day after I mentally said I was going to quit. And it was like, first time I was making over 6 figures. And and I felt like it was a little bit like I was being tested a little bit. Like, do you really want to quit your job? Like, you're making good money. And like my girlfriend was like, are you sure you don't want to just like get another paycheck? Like, you want to like do this
There's
now?
Always
and I was
that
like,
next paycheck,
yeah,
baby.
I was like,
It's
honestly,
like
no, because I can't like go back really. Like, I can't mentally do that.
That's good for you though. I feel like that's how people get trapped in this.
It's called the golden handcuffs.
Yeah, they're doing their thing, and maybe they have a side hustle, and then all of a sudden they get that raise, and they're like, "Fuck!" Like,
right. And it's
the
always,
money outweighs the desire to create the content, or maybe take
like,
a short term financial hit for the long term fulfillment.
Yeah, and I feel like this isn't the same thing if you work at like a bank or something, but like with corporate America, like it's always like just enough money that it's worth it, but not enough money to like save. It's not like if you work at a bank and you get like a $30,000 bonus at the end of the year, like, I don't know if that number is a lot or not, but like,
not to me.
Yeah. Do you fucking make bank
exactly.
at the speech therapy?
Yeah, I'll make this on half a podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I'm like, you could get that bonus and quit your job and have enough to coast on for a few months. In like offices, it's like you're getting like a $5,000 raise over the course of each paycheck. That's like $500. Like, it's not like that noticeable.
Yeah.
But that's how they like suck you in. It's like just enough. But anyways.
And you also, most people lift their expenses along with the paycheck.
Yeah.
So they want, like, how am I not saving anything? I'm I started this job making $80,000. Now I'm making like $150,000.
Yeah.
But you don't realize that like all those small shit adds up over time. And so it's hard to, like, I don't know what it's like to have like a fucking massive paycheck, like the huge bonus, because the therapy industry is just not the type of industry that hands out bonuses. But like, I imagine if it were me, it's hard to not get that sort of paycheck in one thing and be like, well, I got to save all of this. Like, I'm not going to get a car, or I'm not going to get a Model 3 Tesla.
If you're not like trying to go to grad school, if you're not like going for something and you're just living your life, like, why would you save that much money? Like, you would just fucking spend it.
Yeah.
So, but what was I talking about? I was talking about quitting my job.
What led up to and you quit it, and then people were joking about it before, kind of on calls where you weren't super familiar with. And then it happened. So in the aftermath of you quitting your job, because there are a lot of people that are listening to this that may have quit their jobs recently, especially during the pandemic, got let go or plan on quitting them soon. For you, what was that immediate 2 to 3 months like after you quit your job, in terms of just like mentally, but also your day to day? Like, how did that change for you? Yeah,
I think so. It was interesting because once I quit my job, I started to have more opportunities just kind of come to me a little bit. Like, I'd have people reach out to me about something. Like, I picked up a part-time job that I still am doing now. I work for this gambling website. I write a couple columns a week, and I like manage their content and manage the writers. I got that job from a guy who had worked with me in Work.Retire.Die stuff, but he'd reached out to me about stuff in the past, and I was like, I can't do it because I have a job. So like stuff like that, or then even just doing it more, like I got noticed by this other company through Work.Retire.Die. Like, I think like things have fallen into my lap a little bit that like I didn't see it coming when I quit, but like I feel like that's a lot of people will say that when they quit their job to do something, like opportunities do come to you a little bit, that like you're almost telling the universe like, this is what I want to do, and it sends stuff your way. Not to be, cliche or whatever.
Yeah, but, no. I like when you have, you may think that it could be a force that's rewarding you for making the right decision, and I don't know what that force is. And then you also have the fact that you have more time, and so a lot of those things that just weren't even crossing your mind to take. All of a sudden, you know, you're getting emails and you're like, oh, I'm actually gonna consider this because I have time now. So you're doing the part-time gambling column, and then you're doing the work retire die stuff.
Yep.
In the time besides that.
Yeah, and then I also I'm working with this company. It's a media company that they basically manage meme pages and like viral internet pages and like TikTok and meme pages, and like they sell ad space to people, and like so they found me through Work Retire Die, and I like started talking with them, and like what I helped them with is they helped me start the Comma Club. Like they were like, you should do TikToks. They were helping me with it a little bit, and then I'm now helping them manage a couple different meme pages. But like a lot of these meme pages are like run by like college kids who like just need someone to like create a schedule and like tell them when to post and like just help them grow it a little bit. So I think it's a nice mix of like using my corporate experience in like stuff I like to do. So like kind of managing that stuff. So I do that as well. That's
so you're
like
coming in with the business end of the meme
like
page, kind of like getting people on schedule.
Yeah, but like helping them, give them creative ideas as well, where it's like, all right, you should post about like, oh, the NFL draft's tonight. Like, let's post something about the NFL draft. And they're like, oh yeah, good call. Like I should do that. Yeah. Like, it's just like a little bit like, so it's been
kind of like a fatherly meme like, figure. Like I've been like, in this game for a while. Yeah. You know, I'm the wise.
But honestly,
father
like
meme.
all these pages are bigger than Work.Retire.Die. It's like it's crazy how big fucking some pages are. Like just 300K million. Like they just pop up overnight. But I think that's been good to like get to know people in that space, like the social media space. So I've been doing the gambling, the Work.Retire.Die. That I also write. I've been working on a few screenplays that I'm submitting to different contests and festivals and stuff. I submitted one last year that did well in a few festivals, and like,
oh hell yeah,
yeah. So like,
can people watch it publicly?
No, it's more of just like a writing sample. So like for me, the goal is to like have a couple good samples to get signed by like an agent that can get me a job writing for a show. You know, it's like a very hard industry to break into. I like it though. I think it's like a good skill to have, and like I think I have validation that I could do it. It's just, you know, another ball to juggle, as we say.
It's another ball. It's another ball in the air. No, but that's cool though. The getting, I imagine it helps work both sides of your brain, where you're saying the content out loud in the short form, and then you're also writing the longer form screenplay. I imagine that kind of plays off each other, and even like. I imagine that it's gonna work out with the screenplay, but it's like hopefully. even if nothing happened with it and you were just writing it just to write it, it seems like doing that sort of stuff would help you create content.
It feels more like artistic than making internet content, which can be artistic, but it is hard sometimes because it's like I could make a TikTok and then it's gonna go viral and I'm gonna get like the endorphins flooding into my brain right now. I can make a meme that's going to go viral, or I could like sit down for 3 hours, work on my script that probably no one's ever going to see. And like, it's just like having the discipline to like, be like, all right, don't think about making a TikTok right now. Cause like you have to work on this.
No,
that, like,
it's a
there's
real
no
thing.
Reward for it until like 6 months from now.
Yeah. It's like a real thing. It's like you get that instant juice where you make a TikTok and you know when it's like 30 minutes in and maybe it's like 10 it's like 10 times the amount of likes you normally get, and you're just fucking like feeding the TikTok monster. You're just like fucking sitting there jerking off, refreshing the page, and it's like, I'll see you on the For You page, baby. It's a hard thing to do.
Is like when you have a viral TikTok and like 2 weeks later people are still commenting on it and you're like, guys, shut the fuck up. Like, I can't keep getting notifications.
I was done with that 2 weeks ago. Please stop commenting on them.
Yeah.
So what's some of the like the dark, maybe more sketchy shit that goes on in the meme world? Because I know Fuck Jerry had this controversy where they were posting memes and not giving credit to the person, but then they would post it later. But everyone on social media knows that like that first influx you get.
Charlie, like if you tag them 30 minutes later, it's like
have you experienced any sketchy shit like that where you see and obviously you don't have to name anybody, but just like in general where you see things going on, you're like, I know that wasn't you. Or even on TikTok, there have been some things like giving credit is a huge thing on TikTok. New main. Yeah.
That's fucked up to me. I think I don't have a problem with a page that doesn't pretend like they make their own stuff, posting other people's stuff. I think you should be crediting other people if you're posting other people's stuff, especially like small creators, because like that's part of the way that I've grown is like I've had memes get reposted by big meme pages and people then follow me from that. Like that's huge. I want to think the best of people, but I feel like a lot of times like when something goes viral enough, you no longer have control of it. It's like it's the internet's now. You know what I mean? I personally, for my stuff, I only post original content because to me, I've always viewed it as like a portfolio of what I can do as a creator. And like that's gotten me some of these other jobs where they're like, you're a good creator, like you make your own stuff. I wouldn't be happy reposting other people's stuff because like to me it's like, well, that's not
being
mine.
like a curator.
How does this help? How does this make you feel good? But some people are into that. Like,
it's curating versus creating.
Totally. Yeah. And I think as long as you're like upfront and like not pretending like New Main is kind of fucked up because like he's pretending like it's his thing versus just tagging me and like got this idea from that guy. Like I don't know what joy you get out of that. But I don't do that. So I do
think it's fucked up on TikTok. When someone, since audio is so big on TikTok, and when you click on the audio on TikTok, it takes you back to the original. When people re-record a song or they re-record a sketch and then they post it and it comes up as their account and then they come up as the original. I feel like TikTok has to do something about that because there are like so many times where one of my favorite artists that I follow on TikTok is 2 Feet, and he has this song "Go Fuck Yourself" that has blown up on TikTok, and he's kind of gotten a resurgence on TikTok as well. But people repost his song as their own sound, and it doesn't necessarily go back to his original video that he posted. And same thing, I think there was something going on with New Main where he was kind of re-recording the sound or pulling it and then re-uploading it. Like you can upload a video on like a side account and then pull the audio from that account and it'll like go back
that's
to
just
yours.
Like so much effort to me to like, why don't you just come up with your own ideas? I guess you can all the time. Like, like I've definitely had memes taken from me from a bigger account and then they don't tag me until 5 hours later. And it's
and they're like, oh, we tagged you, bro. It's like, like but you got 50,000 likes.
Like you DM them like, please tag me, and they don't view it because like I get it. They probably get a million DMs. Like so I get like I feel like a lot of like I said like once things go kind of viral, at least with memes, it's hard to be like that's Work.Retire.Die's meme if they've seen it from someone else because it's like it's not my face on it. Like also a lot of times memes that get stolen, it's like I didn't come up with the idea of second monitors on Excel being weird. So like if someone like takes this idea, I would get a little upset, but it's also like, okay, that's like a thing we can all agree about. Like that's not like a crazy original idea. You know what I mean?
But you did come up with the idea of pairing serial killers with the second monitor. So if someone was like, instead of serial killers, they were like murderers, and they did this exact same meme, I would be pissed. I'm like, you took my idea. You took my idea, bro. Like it's but if someone had a completely
but if someone did serials and psychopaths and it was like something another example, I'd be like that's not my idea.
You could do something completely different.
It's tricky, but
so something I wanted to ask you is you're very strong in the relatably funny character trait. I feel like everything you put out is funny, and also funny in a way where it's like you've seen that before and you know what it is, and then that meme or that video kind of expresses it for you, and you're like, oh fuck, like I know, like you're you do Brad in the Brad from Murray Hill. Parlay Pete Comic Club, love Parlay Pete. And it's like, dude, like you know those, like I did a little sports gambling in college. You know Brad from Murray Hill,
like the most insufferable sports gambler.
The Office characters. So for you, I wanted to ask you, where do you think that relatably funny sense or that relatably funny character trait comes from? Did you always have that? Did you develop that? Where do you see that coming from?
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like I don't know where it comes from. I feel like sometimes when you are in comedy, there's people who are like weirdos and there's people who are like a little more normal, and like I'm not calling these people weird, but like comedy can bring out like a weirder person that's a little more quirky and like bizarre things, not any less funny. I feel like I fall in the meme of the realm of like somebody you're friends with who happens to be funny, and I feel like I can like understand these specific characters that are relatable to my audience, but I see what makes them funny and like what makes people a little ridiculous. So like all of my characters are like 60 to 70% based on me and like things I've actually done, but like exaggerated to a point that it's comedic. Yeah. Like Brad from Murray Hill, this is what I do in the comic club, is like some of the like more asshole moves I've made as a guy dating girls when I was 22 that like I kind of regret a little bit, but like looking back on it, like realize like how dumb I was being. Like I think because a lot of it comes from just being a little stupid about,
so,
like emotionally.
So you're making fun of a less evolved version
of myself
of
in all these different characters. I feel like,
yeah. No, I definitely, I was a different version of Brad from Murray Hill, but I did a lot of the same shit that Brad does.
People, that's why it's relatable. Like, unfortunately, that character is a little bit relatable, and like. I would like to think I was never mean-spirited about it and was more of just like careless and a little selfish, but like,
Could you explain to people who the Brad from Murray Hill character is?
I have another page, yet another thing that I'm doing.
The Comic Club,
The Comic Club. The Comic Club.
Work.Retire.Die and the Comic Club.
And the Comic Club. So that's kind of my outlet for relatable humor that's not work-related. And it's basically, so the concept of the Comic Club is another thing we would kind of say as some of my buddies, like, you're joining the Comic Club when you finally get your paycheck and you finally have a comma in your bank account for the first time. And then you pay rent or you buy 10 Bud Lights at the bar and you're out of the Comic Club.
Back to $16, right?
Yeah. So it's like kind of making fun of being like 22 to 24, living in New York City specifically, because I feel like people really relate to like a finance bro in New York City. And like that's the other thing is like I do like to punch up a little bit, whereas like making fun of, you can make fun of a finance bro from New York City because like nobody feels bad for them. Yeah. Really. You can make
you're making six figures.
I'm a straight white male. Like I can't like make
you're the most attackable character in comedy.
And so it's easier if I attack myself, a version of myself, than not that I would, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so anyway, so I have these characters. One of them is Brad from Murray Hill. It's mainly dating things and it's like POV. You like woke up in Brad's bed in Murray Hill and it's like, what do you want a second pillow? Like, why do I have, shit like that, where it's like stuff we've all kind of been through, like a little exaggerated, a little ridiculous enough to like makes you feel like it's a joke and not just like verbatim. But yeah, I like the relatable stuff. I think I do also have a side that does more like absurd, quirky stuff that I was doing with Lemon Hands a little bit. But I think like the stuff that hits for me is the relatable stuff, which is like cool. But like a lot of times it's like, it's almost mining everything that happens to me in my life for comedy, which is great. But then at the end of the day, it's like hard to flip the switch sometimes where like I'm like hanging out with people. I'm like, oh, that's a funny bit. Like people who do this, like it's a little hard to flip the switch.
Yeah. So I'm super interested in this because I deal with this a lot, kind of like seeing ideas for podcasts out in the wild. How do you actually record things? Do you use voice memos? Do you use notes? If you see something, like you're on the subway and you see something, you're like, I'm gonna record a TikTok about this later, I'm gonna make a podcast, write an article about this later, whatever it is. Like, what is your method of recording, like from the point that you see it to taking it down so that you don't forget it? What does that look like?
I do a lot of notes app stuff, and then I'll just go through them like and see if there's something there. That's kind of it. Or I'll like write something as a tweet and save it as a draft, where it's just like not even a tweet, it's just like the thought of the tweet, and then I'll like go and punch it up
and
later.
Then you have it there.
Yeah, but I do have to write stuff down a lot.
I feel like it's good.
It's a good habit
that you write it down, and also that you're able to make fun of yourself and past versions of yourself, because not a lot of people are willing to do that, and sometimes I don't even take that into consideration often enough, where I'm always looking for like the other thing that's funny.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking at myself. I'm just
What's
like, dude, like if
yeah.
someone was recording me on a daily basis, like if I was watching myself and I didn't know it was me, I'd be like, oh my God, this dude's a fucking gold mine.
It's like there's a lot of shit going on with this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, especially now that I like quit my job and I make content all the time. It's like, it is pretty funny that I'm just like stuck in my apartment by myself making TikToks all the time. It's such a bizarre thing. Like a couple times, like my girlfriend's mom was like staying with us and I'm like making a TikTok while she's like in the other room.
Yeah.
And it's like, you realize how fucking ridiculous it is what you do sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if your brother was sitting in that room right now, you would you probably wouldn't feel that self-conscious because it's your brother.
Podcast not as much, because I've done Zoom podcasts or in-person podcasts where my brother's actually helped me record it.
Fair.
But like when someone else is here, I zone out. But TikToks for sure. Like
you're like recording yourself being like, oh, and you're like, that was a bad one.
Like most of the time I don't. I'm just like, I can't do this with anyone else.
Totally.
In the room or sometimes even like if I hear someone outside in the hallway.
You're like,
I'm just like, I'm gonna wait till this person leaves, even though they like I see that person
my
once a
neighbors
month.
Must think I'm crazy because like I'll say the same line 5 different times and they're like, dude, just that was a good enough take, like shut the fuck up, we're on a conference call right now. Like Brad really loves that extra pillow. Stop doing TikTok. Exactly.
No, but I totally get the when I'm doing stuff by myself, the self-consciousness kicks in to where it's like I can zone out during conversation. I'm like, if someone's listening to this, who gives a fuck? But it's like when no one else is there to bounce back and forth with, I can't say shit out loud when other people are in the room. Like you know, even if I've done it 1,000 times before, I can't record a TikTok. I can't record a solo podcast. Like I have another podcast where I'm just like spouting shit off sometimes. And
if someone was like in the other
room, I couldn't.
You can't like block it out.
I do it sometimes, but it's just like, I'd rather not, and I don't know what that is. That's probably something I have to work on too.
Yeah,
it's like, who gives a fuck what my brother thinks?
Well, they know, and they also like know you do a podcast.
Yeah,
like I think one of the things, like I write. I have a newsletter, and I send out. Basically, it's like every week I send out like a new blog, and that's been something that's been really good for me to like have my discipline. Is like I have all these email subscribers that like every single Friday at 11 a.m. I send out a new blog to them, but a lot of times I'll be on like a ski trip with my friends or at a beach house with my friends on Friday morning. I know they're going to receive the email of the blog that I just wrote, but I have to like go sit in like the spare guest room, put in like noise canceling headphones, write it out, and knowing like Mike's going to read this in 45 minutes.
It's
like
weird.
Not think about
it's
that.
You in a super vulnerable state. And I don't know exactly what it is, because they know
that I'm doing it
about what you do, but it's like the act of doing it makes you nervous or uncomfortable, and it does the same shit to me. And I honestly don't know exactly what that is. Like when I'm doing shit by myself, or whether I'm like recording a video or recording a podcast, like why am I bothered by something that the other person knows I do regularly?
Right. Like, it's like
they're not finding out anything
that
new.
You have a podcast.
Yeah,
they don't
they're not finding out that I'm recording a podcast. Yet it's just like I'm thinking about how I'm being perceived by someone that knows like is perfectly okay with what I do, and maybe we'll listen to episodes. It's a weird weird
and
thing.
I also think people care less than you actually think that they care. That's one of the things that I realize is like
the spotlight effect. Have you read about that in psychology? So it's like you walk through life with a spotlight on you that's not actually there. Right. So you're the main character in your own story.
Yep.
And so, for example, when you have a stain on your shirt, you probably think 10 times more people notice it than you actually do. So if you go on the subway, if you think 300 people saw the stain when you were on the subway and then walked back to your apartment. Maybe
like,
3, like or 30.
And 0 of them cared.
Yeah, and none of them cared. So it's like you put this spotlight on yourself that everyone else, and the part of the effect is that everyone else also has that spotlight. So everyone's so obsessed with the fact that everyone thinks
it's interesting you say
about
that. So
me.
I like have struggled with that, and I've tried, and I've gotten better. And like one of the things I'm like is like, whatever, like I don't really care, like, but I have pink eye right now, right? So I recorded a video 2 or 3 days ago where I have pink eye, and I was like, no one's gonna notice. So many people were like, dude, you have pink eye.
Dude, and
I'm like, maybe I should be a little bit more like, it's just funny because like sometimes people do notice, but like it's like weird to strike the right balance. With it.
But it's like, okay, so
but also who really cares
if you take the percentage of people that commented on that video,
right?
It's nothing in terms of who actually watched that video. It's just like, that was funny. I saw he had pink eye and I didn't feel the need to comment.
Yeah. Dude, that is fucking the problem with doing all these videos now is like, I don't know if I get sometimes like DMs like about how my video sucks. Like what I told this story in another podcast, but like I posted a video on the Comma Club and I promoted it from Work.Retire.Die. And I guess like people don't always know that there's a face behind Work.Retire.Die because it's like 50%. 60% not videos.
Yeah, meme stuff.
Yeah. But like I've been doing enough videos that I think people, know it's you. Know that it's the Work.Retire.Die person. But I posted a video of me doing a Comma Club video, and some guy replied to it and was like, "How much is this guy paying you to post his like shitty videos? Like he has like 200 followers for a reason." And I was like, "Well, first off, that's my videos, and also like even if it wasn't like." Why do you have to be such a dick to that stranger? Like, it was Easter Sunday. It was like, why are you DMing?
Yeah, it's like, why are you in church?
Yeah, it's a corporate meme page, and you're like, and he was like, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. And that was a mistake.
Really, he said
that. I was like, oh, you know what? Thank you, man. Because like, I think a lot of times people forget, and this is another thing with going viral on TikTok. It's like. It's also a little bit more vulnerable because your face is there, but people like don't think of you as like a person because there's so many people who viewed it and liked it that they forget that like somebody is running this meme page. And if you like, or somebody is behind this TikTok, and if you post like, this is cringe or like, this sucks, like it doesn't, I'm at the point where it doesn't really affect me. I'm still obviously thin skinned like any person, but like it is an interesting phenomena, especially if doing comedy where you're like trying to be funny. Which is a vulnerable thing that people can be like, this isn't funny. Yeah.
That's important though, because it's to be able to put out content and receive the negative feedback in a way where you acknowledge it, but you don't let it affect what you create.
Yeah.
That's a powerful thing to be able to do. And you're going to put out thousands of videos, thousands of memes, thousands of newsletters, whatever it is. And not all of those are going to be the best things ever. Not all of those are going to be like the high, like you're only going to have one video that's like the highest streams that you've ever gotten. You're only going to have like the one meme that's the most likes.
There's always going to be the worst video.
Yeah. You'll always like that. I think about that sometimes too, where I'm like, I may put out 10,000 podcasts in my life and be remembered for like 5 of them.
Yeah.
Like people will look back and be like, these were like the 5 like trademark podcasts of Auxoro. But like to me, every podcast seems the same. And so if I let that negative feedback affect me wherever it is, like that may cause me to be different or not be as creative in some way. So it's good that
I think it's hard as a creator to sift through what feedback to listen to, because I think like as a writer and with my screenplays, like I feel like something that I'm good at is taking a note and not letting it hurt my feelings and then making it funny. Like if someone tells me a joke's not funny, this character's not working, like there are people who just don't really listen and just like stick to their gut, which for better or for worse, like sometimes I change stuff too much, but I also think it's a line of like knowing who not to trust and who to trust with your work, like hearing their voice on, which is like something I'm still trying to figure out too. But like, I'm probably more open. I'm probably a little bit more, because I'm a little bit more insecure than I'd like to be. But I'm getting more secure. But like, if someone says something needs to change, like I'm more likely to be like, okay, they're right. Versus being like, no, I think this is actually better this way. But I do think it's a two sides.
It's good to have those people in your life that are brutally honest with you, like your
Nicole,
girlfriend.
Yeah.
And because you could
I
probably
trust her.
You trust her, and you could probably bounce a critique that you've gotten, and she'll be able to be like, oh no, like that's bullshit, or this is actually, and then that's on you to decide. Okay, I trust this person. Is this something that's worth changing, or am I going to stick to my guns and maybe go against the grain? And that's the decision that you ultimately have to make.
Yeah.
So I wanted to wrap up and maybe change the pace a little bit, bring it back to the work and play. Yeah. So I'm actually glad we talked about the work and play at the beginning, because this kind of comes full circle, because I actually put down a quote to circle back to at the end of the podcast. I had a lot of balls in the air with all these questions, so I figured we'd circle back to end on some synergy at the end.
There you go. It's beautiful, really.
So, it is. So there's a quote by a writer named François-René de Chateaubriand, and
your French is coming along.
I probably butchered the shit out of that.
It's a Duolingo.
But he says this. He says, "A master in the art of living draws no sharp distinction between his work and play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his education and recreation. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence through whatever he is doing, and leaves others to determine whether he is working or playing. To himself, he always appears to be doing both." So,
interesting.
For you, we talked a little bit about that kind of work play dynamic. What drives you to create at the deepest level? Like, even if without the views, without the opportunities, without anything, like what drives you to put shit out? And also, when do you feel the most playful? What are you doing? What type of content are you making? Like, what kind of feels like that synergy, to use a corporate America term, of like the work and play combining perfectly for you?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. It's probably two things. Like, I really like to make people laugh, and I think it's probably can be a weak point where like I'll do a lot of things for a laugh, but like I think that's what drives me, is like I like to make people laugh, but I also think I have something to say, and the reason and the way I get people to hear it is by making them laugh, which is like corporate America memes. Like, I think some of the stuff going on is like a little fucked up, not fucked up, but I don't agree with it, and the way people to realize that is do a funny meme about it. So I think that's like where it comes from. Like, I always will want to make people laugh. And what drives me to do it all the time is like I just have a ticking clock in my head that I'm like, I need to just I need to just keep going, because like life is short, and like if I don't keep grinding, like it's never gonna happen. So like I feel like that's where my discipline comes from a little bit. I think, what was the other part of the question? Like, where's the line between work and play?
Yeah, where do you feel like that comes together for you the best? Like, what are you doing? What type of content are you making?
And I talk about this with my friends and my girlfriend and people sometimes. Like, so the things that I like to do is like watch sports, watch funny videos, watch like TV, go on social media, hang out with people. And that's like what I do for work now. Like, I work for this sports site, so like I write articles about sports, and like I'm watching sports, I'm like, shit, I need to like write this article about this thing. I'm on TikTok, I'm like, ooh, that's a good idea for me to do that as a TikTok. I'm like watching a TV show, it's like, oh, I can write a TV show about that. So like, I think it's good and bad that like sometimes the lines are never blurred, where I'm like always kind of absorbing things, and a lot of my humor comes from relatable situation. So I'm like in a situation at a bar and I'm like, oh, this is like a funny thing that I could do. So I think like to me the lines can be drawn a little bit. It can be a little hard for me to like find something that doesn't feel like work all the time, but I don't know if that's if that's that bad of a thing. I like to stay active. I play basketball a decent amount, which doesn't really feel like work. It's just like something I like to do for fun. So at the end of the day, like my work is not it feels like fun to me. Yeah. I'm making a video. I'm doing a meme. I'm writing an article about who the Jets should draft tonight. And like, I care about that. So it's like, it's not like feeling like work to me. Yeah. So, which is I think a good spot to be in.
That's a great spot to be in.
Yeah.
So to end off, where are the best spots for people to follow you? Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. Where should they hit you up?
On Instagram, follow us on Work.Retire.Die, and Comic Club on Instagram and TikTok. Work.Retire.Die, I'm on TikTok too. I don't do as much there. But yeah, check out Work.Retire.Die if you want to support. Buying merch is great. We have, t-shirts, hats. We have mugs with, it says Synergy in a Supreme font, like shit like that. So a lot of buzzword kind of stuff. So go to workretire.com. There's a shop section, and yeah,
that's all going to be linked in the description as well. Thank wherever you're listening or watching this. Thank you, Jack. It's been a pleasure.
Cool. Been real.
Let's go grab some.
Let's get some.
Let's
there
go.
You go, sir.
Let's continue this offline.
Let's fucking.
Right. Yeah, we'll continue. Circle back.
All right, bye.
All right, dude.
Good work.